Okay, welcome back, beautiful students. This is a little introduction to the Odyssey Part 1, Books 10, 11, and 12. You have two assignments accompanying this. You are going to actively read this portion, again, keeping in mind looking for narrative elements, looking for epic elements, and then also looking for historical relevance in this piece. And so when it comes to active reading, what I do require is that you not only highlight like so, all right, but that you also have annotations to accompany those highlights, okay? All right, so similar to what you've done before, you're going to actively read this piece, and as you're actively reading, again, you want to keep in mind this idea of leadership and specifically heroism. We're looking for evidence of Odysseus's heroic acts or lack thereof to transfer to a worksheet where we'll break down the different passages into more detail for an argumentative purpose. All right, so when we left book 9, obviously Odysseus had escaped the Cyclops, but not without some casualties, and also kind of setting himself up for a rough ride home after he tells Polyphemus who he is. Again, like we've had before, these italicized parts are summaries, and it lets you know what's been cut out, what you haven't read of book 10 of part 1. And these are not areas where you can pull your evidence of heroism. What you need to do is you need to use the poetry down here as the source for your evidence, okay? Just to keep that in mind. This summary is pretty important, though, because the summary tells you, right, on our plot outline here, that after he leaves the Cyclops, right, he visits the wind guide, Aeolus, okay, and because his men have some issues with listening to him, they are actually blown back to Aeolus's island, so they end up kind of going in circles. And then after that, the king refuses to serve him or help him, obviously. So they end up in the land of the Laestrygones. And the Laestrygones are cannibals. They shower Odysseus's fleet with boulders. And we learn that because of this, only Odysseus, his ship, and its crew survive. And so he's literally lost almost all of his men and all of his ships at this point. And they end up going to the home of the goddess Circe on the Aeaea. Okay? So we're kind of making our way up this ladder of rising action. And this story is about Circe. After Circe, we're going to read about the land of the dead, which, if you remember, is the realm of Hades from our Gods and Goddesses review. And then after the land of the dead, he will encounter some more challenges, specifically with some monsters, one of them being the Sirens, the next one being Scylla, and the last one, Charybdis. Okay. So as you go through books 10, 11, and 12, again, keep in mind that you're looking for evidence of heroism or the lack of it. But you're not just annotating for that. You're also looking for poetic elements, looking for historical relevance, looking for, obviously epic elements too. So let's go ahead and try what we've done before, which is reading not in a poetic format the first time around, but reading in sentence format. And lines 1 through 4 are actually one sentence. Again, notice that Odysseus is narrating these stories, so there are quotes around his dialogue. He says, "In the wild wood they found an open glade around a smooth stone house, the hall of Circe. And wolves and mountain lions lay there, mild in her soft spell, fed on her drug of evil." All right. So in that first sentence, right, we're given a description of where Circe lives. She's got wolves and lions hanging out, but they're mild, so they're tame by her soft spells. They're fed on a drug of evil. So we get a good example of foreshadowing from this piece of what might happen to Odysseus and his men, just looking at the scene that is there, okay? The animals didn't attack, and it was strange, right? But switching their long tails, they faced our men like hounds who look up when their master comes with tidbits for them, as he will from table. Humbly those wolves and lions with mighty paws fawned on our men, who met their yellow eyes and feared them. Okay, so notice how he sets up this strange mood, this narrative approach in the beginning. Okay, good. So as you read Book 10, look for evidence in this adventure of Odysseus and his heroism. Okay? And then when you move to Book 11, you're going to go on the adventure in Hades, the land of the dead, with Odysseus. And again, look for information, actions, words, thoughts that would show Odysseus's heroism or his lack of it. After Book 11, you're going to go on to Book 12. Well, you'll notice here the semicolon, right? He battles the sirens, and then together he battles two other monsters, Scylla and Charybdis. This is definitely a great book for evidence of heroism or the lack of it, so pay attention as you're going through. And that's it. If you get to the bottom here, at the end of Book 12, okay, make sure you pay attention to this summary, okay? And be sure to review all of Part 1, not only for evidence of a hero, but also in preparation for the reading quiz, which will cover 1.1, 1.5, 1.10, 11, and 12. I'm sorry, 9, 10, 11, and 12. If you have any questions, feel free to email. Thanks.